some way, one way or another, we need to figure out a way to forge a new social contract between urban America and rural America.
Let's start what we have come into the room to do.
My name is Nils Christoffersen. I'm the executive director of Valera Resources, a community-based nonprofit that works in Northeast Oregon. In our natural resource fields, we have a lot of knowledge about certain places. We don't have the same degree of knowledge about every place. And we make mistakes when we automatically assume that knowledge of some larger system is 100% applicable to some specific place. And if you're willing to listen and you smile at people and are friendly with people, they'll talk to you, and you can learn a lot about a place that way, and then figure out appropriate ways to apply what you know to their problems in a way that hopefully is really helpful. The desire for this country, at least for parts of this country, to move away from coal, that's going to come at a tremendous cost to a lot of very poor communities across our country. And the question is, what's our collective responsibility to those communities? Do we have any? Or are they just collateral damage for a greater public good, a cleaner economy, a cleaner carbon future? But they're going to lose. But because enough other people win, it's worth their sacrifice, right? So I don't think that makes good public policy, and I also don't think it's fair. There's something inherently American and Western about the word stewardship, and I think for a lot of people, stewardship has. I think many people understand that stewardship includes this notion of husbandry, of an active role for humans as part of the ecosystem to be stewards, not just users, not just extractors, but to be stewards, which is what most farmers, ranchers, family forest landowners see themselves as being anyways, right? And not enough people appreciate that they actually are. Most of our small rural landowners are incredible stewards, and they don't get appreciated for it. They don't get recognized for that. But the challenge in the word conservation for me, coming back to the US after working overseas for about 12 years, is that while internationally the word conservation has a very broad definition that recognizes there's three key elements. There's an element of the conservation of biodiversity at the ecosystem level, the species level, and the genetic level. But conservation of biodiversity also needs to identify opportunities for the sustainable use of that biodiversity to meet our needs. Because if our use isn't sustainable, inherently we lose the first tenet of conservation. And in order for it to be durable, socially, politically, economically durable, it has to pay attention to who benefits, the equitable distribution of benefits from both the conservation and the sustainable use of biodiversity, whether it's best strategies for rural economic development or best strategies for federal forest land management. And federal forest land management, which is 192, 194 million acres of the West, is incredibly diverse. It's not the same answer in Alaska, in the Tongass, as it is in Eastern Oregon or Western Oregon, and certainly not down in Arizona. So how do we create the opportunity that allows for local experimentation? And for whatever reason, well, I mean, there's good reasons, I'm sure, but urban society is either totally disconnected or they don't trust rural America and the land management agencies, and therefore they want to keep it boxed in. They want to maintain that rigidity and that oversight. And it creates severe limitations on the ability for rural communities that have historically had strong, vibrant natural resource economies, that have historically been the core fabric of American democracy, to transform, to reorganize, now that public values have changed and laws have changed. Wallowa County and Wallowa Resources has been a phenomenal place to work. It attracted me because the leadership of the county commission, county government, and many citizens from the county, in response to this very profound transformation that occurred across the West, with a shift in emphasis in public land management from sustained yield to ecosystem management. It had a dramatic landscape level impact and a dramatic social economic impact on our communities. And in response to that, the county government pulled people together and started talking about how we could work together to respond to that change. Try to identify opportunities that would channel people's, or dissipate the anger and fear and chaos and crisis that existed, into constructive action. And see if we could do it with local leadership, so that change didn't happen, it wasn't imposed on us with from outside interests that would either see an opportunity because this community had collapsed and land was cheap and labor was cheap, and maybe there was an opportunity to put in a new correction facility, a new call center, some service center. I mean, those were all real ideas about that, because there was so much unemployment that had a certain appeal, but they were very, they didn't align at all with the cultural values of the community. We've created some new businesses, some new job opportunities. On the margins, we've had positive impacts on the economics of a number of farms and ranches. We're bringing people together that have historically been antagonists when it comes to federal land management, and beginning to find opportunities to cooperate, collaborate on stewardship projects and forest restoration projects. But we need to do more, both to address the real needs of the land at a larger scale, and to address the real needs of these rural communities at a larger scale. A single set of laws that are very rigid and primarily crafted, to me, I'm not a lawyer, but it strikes me, to prevent use, to prevent abuse. They're not well suited to support and advance good stewardship, and to advance the evolution of cultural adaptations, of socio-ecological adaptations to places, which is what we need. We're missing the big pattern of collapse, of homogenization, loss of diversity, loss of resilience, because we're afraid to cut an individual tree. And we're experiencing more and more wildfire, and we're experiencing an increased loss of life and property. So that becomes a point of frustration. How come people can't see that really there is an opportunity to do restoration that really should unite the country, and it would also create jobs for us, so it's a win-win? How come we can't unite around that? You let a frustration fester long enough and almost anything can spark it off, and if it's not being addressed, it can be sparked off in counterproductive ways. And that's what I think happened personally. That's my opinion. I understand the frustration, and I believe inherently in the need for us as a society to address the core issues. I don't think the way it played out in Arnie County was the right way to pursue it.